The starting point for real health, energy, and vitality isn't a supplement, a pill, or even the gym. It's the gut. Everything from how we digest food to how efficiently our mitochondria produce energy is dictated by the health of our gut lining and microbiome. When the gut becomes damaged, what we often call leaky gut, toxins, undigested food particles, and microbes leak into the bloodstream. The immune system responds as if under constant attack, leading to chronic inflammation, fatigue, and the feeling that your body just isn't running at full power. Most people don't realize that their everyday symptoms, brain fog, low energy, stubborn weight gain, or bloating after meals, are not random. They're signals that the gut lining is compromised and that the beneficial microbes that once protected and nourished you have been replaced by harmful bacteria, yes, and toxins. This imbalance disrupts nutrient absorption and sends a constant stream of inflammatory signals throughout the body. Over time, that inflammation damages the mitochondria, the tiny engines in your cells that produce energy, leaving you tired, sluggish, and more prone to illness. When we restore the gut, we restore the foundation of health. The gut lining isn't just a barrier, it's an intelligent interface that communicates with your immune system, your brain, and your mitochondria. Healing it allows nutrients to be properly absorbed, inflammation to subside, and energy production to normalize. The body stops fighting itself and begins thriving again. In this exploration, we'll uncover how healing the gut lining and rebuilding a balanced microbiome can switch the body from a state of inflammation and fatigue to one of regeneration and vitality, proving that true energy starts in the gut, not the coffee cup. Leaky gut isn't a vague internet concept or a fringe diagnosis. It's a very real biological process that represents a breakdown in one of the body's most important protective barriers. The gut lining is meant to be selectively permeable. It allows nutrients, amino acids, fats, and vitamins to pass through into the bloodstream while keeping larger, potentially harmful substances contained within the digestive tract. This single layer of epithelial cells, supported by a complex network of tight junction proteins, mucosal barriers, and immune cells, acts as both a gatekeeper and a sentry. When that barrier becomes damaged, it begins to leak, not in a dramatic way, but microscopically, allowing bacteria, toxins, and incompletely digested food particles to enter the bloodstream. When that happens, the immune system is immediately alerted. It's as though an alarm goes off across the entire body. The immune system begins producing antibodies and inflammatory molecules, such as cytokines, to neutralize these foreign invaders. This process, when acute, is protective. But when the leakage is chronic, as it often is in modern life, the body is in a constant state of low-grade inflammation. That's when symptoms like fatigue, brain fog, skin issues, and joint pain begin to appear. It's also the starting point of many chronic conditions, autoimmune diseases, allergies, metabolic disorders, and even depression. Diet is the most common offender. Highly processed foods, refined carbohydrates, industrial seed oils, and artificial additives disrupt the gut microbiome, the trillions of bacteria that line the digestive tract and support the gut barrier. A poor diet starves beneficial microbes while feeding opportunistic species that produce toxins and inflammatory byproducts. Over time, this microbial imbalance erodes the gut lining, thinning the mucosal barrier and weakening tight junctions. Add to that the widespread use of antibiotics, which indiscriminately wipe out both good and bad bacteria, and you have the perfect recipe for a compromised gut wall. Stress is another major contributor. Chronic psychological stress releases cortisol and other stress hormones that alter gut motility and blood flow, suppress beneficial bacteria, and directly increase intestinal permeability. The gut and brain are in constant communication via the vagus nerve and the enteric nervous system. When one is under stress, the other feels it. Similarly, environmental toxins such as pesticides, heavy metals, alcohol, and certain medications, like NSAIDs and proton pump inhibitors, further disrupt this delicate ecosystem. Each of these factors chips away at the gut's structural integrity, setting the stage for systemic inflammation. Once the gut barrier is breached, the cascade extends far beyond digestion. Lipopolysaccharides, LPS, components of the outer membrane of certain bacteria, are among the most inflammatory substances known to the immune system. When they pass into the bloodstream, they trigger the release of pro-inflammatory cytokines, which in turn create oxidative stress inside cells. Oxidative stress damages mitochondria, impairing their ability to efficiently produce ATP, the body's energy currency. Instead of producing energy cleanly, mitochondria become sluggish and leak reactive oxygen species, molecules that further damage tissues and perpetuate the inflammatory cycle. The result is systemic fatigue that no amount of sleep or caffeine can fix, because the problem isn't lack of rest, it's cellular exhaustion. In Dr. Myhill's clinical approach, mitochondrial health and gut integrity are inseparable. When the gut leaks, inflammation follows, and inflammation is the primary saboteur of mitochondrial function. The mitochondria are exquisitely sensitive to oxidative stress and nutrient deficiencies. They depend on a steady supply of amino acids, fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals, nutrients that can only be absorbed properly when the gut lining is healthy. A compromised barrier not only lets toxins in, but also prevents optimal nutrient absorption. This double blow means the mitochondria are both poisoned and starved, leading to reduced energy output and increased free radical damage. This is why so many people report a mixture of digestive complaints and systemic symptoms: bloating, diarrhea or constipation on one hand, and chronic fatigue, headaches, and muscle pain on the other. They may treat these as separate problems, but they are, in reality, two sides of the same coin. The root cause lies in the gut's barrier function. Once this protective wall is compromised, the immune system becomes overactive and energy production falters. The body is effectively fighting an invisible internal battle every single day. Healing the gut then becomes far more than a digestive concern. It's the cornerstone of restoring the body's overall energy economy. A healthy gut lining prevents the immune system from being constantly triggered. It keeps inflammation localized to where it belongs, inside the gut, rather than letting it spread throughout the body. As inflammation settles, the mitochondria begin to recover. They can return to efficient energy production, using oxygen to generate ATP with minimal waste. This shift from an inflamed, energy-depleted state to a balanced, efficient one is what people experience as renewed vitality. In practical terms, repairing a leaky gut starts with removing the insults, processed foods, sugars, alcohol, unnecessary medications, and environmental toxins. The next step is to rebuild the barrier itself with nutrient-dense, anti-inflammatory foods, bone broth for amino acids like glycine and glutamine, omega-3 fats to reduce inflammation, and polyphenol-rich vegetables that support beneficial microbes. Fermented foods and high-quality probiotics help reseed the gut with friendly bacteria that reinforce the mucosal layer and regulate immune signaling. At the same time, it's essential to manage stress through rest, mindfulness, and time in nature, allowing the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, to dominate. Adequate sleep and hydration complete the picture, both of which are essential for cellular repair. The body has an extraordinary capacity to heal when given the right conditions, and the gut is no exception. When the gut lining is sealed, inflammation subsides, nutrient absorption improves, and mitochondrial function rebounds. What once felt like unrelenting fatigue transforms into steady, sustainable energy. In essence, the gut is the ignition switch of the body's engine. When it's repaired and the microbial ecosystem restored, every system, from immunity to metabolism, begins to run as it was designed to, smoothly, efficiently, and full of life. Every cell in the human body depends on mitochondria, the tiny organelles responsible for producing energy in the form of ATP. But what many people don't realize is that these cellular powerhouses are not isolated units. They are profoundly influenced by the community of microbes living inside our gut. The microbiome and mitochondria are in constant biochemical conversation. When the gut is healthy, this communication fuels energy, mental clarity, and resilience. When it's disrupted, energy production falters, and the body enters a state of chronic fatigue and metabolic slowdown. The connection between the gut microbiome and mitochondria is not coincidental. Both evolved together over millions of years, sharing a deep biological partnership. In fact, mitochondria themselves are thought to be descendants of ancient bacteria that entered our cells and formed a symbiotic relationship. They still carry bacterial DNA, and they still respond to bacterial signals. This means that the balance of microbes in our gut directly affects how well our mitochondria perform. When beneficial bacteria thrive, they send the right biochemical messages to mitochondria to increase energy output and reduce oxidative stress. When harmful microbes take over, They send the wrong ones, leading to mitochondrial dysfunction and fatigue. One of the most important products of a healthy microbiome is a group of compounds known as short-chain fatty acids, the CFAs, primarily butyrate, acetate, and propionate. These are produced when beneficial bacteria ferment dietary fiber from vegetables, fruits, and resistant starches. Butyrate, in particular, plays a central role in maintaining gut and cellular health. It is the primary fuel source for colon cells, providing them with up to 70% of their energy needs. When colon cells are well fed with butyrate, they maintain a tight, intact barrier, preventing toxins from leaking into the bloodstream. Butyrate also acts as a powerful anti-inflammatory molecule, calming the immune system and reducing the release of damaging cytokines that would otherwise disrupt mitochondrial function. Beyond its local effects in the gut, butyrate has systemic influence. It activates pathways in the body that promote mitochondrial biogenesis, the process of creating new mitochondria. More mitochondria mean more capacity for energy production. This is especially important in tissues with high energy demands, such as the brain, heart, and muscles. Butyrate also enhances the efficiency of existing mitochondria by improving the balance between energy production and reactive oxygen species generation. Essentially, it helps mitochondria produce ATP cleanly and efficiently, minimizing cellular wear and tear. This is one reason why diets rich in plant fiber, fermented foods, and prebiotics are consistently linked to higher energy levels and better metabolic health when the gut microbiome falls out of balance, a condition known as dysbiosis. The picture changes dramatically. Instead of producing beneficial metabolites like butyrate, harmful bacteria and yeasts release endotoxins such as lipopolysaccharides, the LPS. These molecules enter the bloodstream when the gut barrier is weakened and set off systemic inflammation. LPS directly impair mitochondrial function by disrupting the electron transport chain, the series of reactions mitochondria use to generate ATP. When this chain becomes inefficient, energy output drops, and the excess electrons leak out as free radicals. These reactive molecules damage mitochondrial membranes, enzymes, and DNA, further reducing their performance. Over time, this oxidative stress leads to fatigue, brain fog, and metabolic dysfunction, the hallmarks of what many experience as burnout or chronic tiredness. The impact extends far beyond energy production. Mitochondria are also key regulators of cell signaling, hormone synthesis, and immune balance. When they are compromised, the body's ability to regulate inflammation, repair tissues, and detoxify declines. The immune system remains on high alert, and the gut barrier becomes even more permeable, feeding back into the cycle of dysbiosis and mitochondrial damage. This is why Dr. Myhill often emphasizes that chronic inflammation and low energy are two sides of the same coin, both driven by disrupted communication between the microbiome and mitochondria. The microbiome doesn't just influence mitochondria. Mitochondria also shape the microbiome. When mitochondrial energy production falters, cells in the gut lining cannot maintain proper function. These cells depend on mitochondrial ATP to produce mucus, secrete antimicrobial peptides, and keep tight junctions sealed. A decline in mitochondrial energy means the gut lining weakens, oxygen levels in the intestine shift, and harmful bacteria are allowed to flourish. In this way, mitochondrial dysfunction creates an environment that favors dysbiosis, reinforcing the same imbalance that damaged the mitochondria in the first place. This vicious cycle is what keeps so many people stuck in chronic fatigue and inflammatory illness, despite taking probiotics or eating better for short periods. Unless both the gut and mitochondria are addressed simultaneously, full recovery remains elusive. The good news is that the same principles that heal the gut also restore mitochondrial vitality. A diverse, fiber-rich diet supports the growth of bacteria that produce butyrate and other SCFAs. These, in turn, nourish the gut lining and stimulate mitochondrial biogenesis. Key nutrients such as magnesium, coenzyme Q10, B vitamins, and carnitine, all of which are required for mitochondrial energy metabolism, also depend on proper digestion and absorption, processes that are only efficient when the gut ecosystem is healthy. When nutrient delivery and microbial balance are restored, the mitochondria can once again produce energy efficiently, supporting detoxification, repair, and hormone balance. Another critical factor is inflammation control. Chronic inflammation increases the production of nitric oxide and other free radicals that directly inhibit mitochondrial enzymes. A balanced microbiome through butyrate and related metabolites keeps inflammatory pathways in check. This prevents excessive immune activation and allows mitochondria to operate in a low-stress environment. The result is a body that can generate energy with less oxidative waste, a clean burn rather than a smoky, inefficient one. In clinical practice, one of the clearest indicators of microbiome mitochondria imbalance is when patients experience both digestive symptoms and deep fatigue. They might have bloating, irregular bowel movements, or food sensitivities alongside poor concentration, muscle weakness, or an inability to recover from exercise. These aren't separate problems, but rather manifestations of the same root, cause mitochondrial suppression driven by microbial imbalance. Addressing this connection means focusing not on isolated symptoms, but on restoring the biological partnership that underpins all energy production. Every meal, every night of sleep, and every breath of clean air contributes to this restoration process, supporting beneficial gut bacteria through whole foods. Probiotics and prebiotics creates a biochemical environment where mitochondria can thrive, reducing stress, improving sleep, and eliminating toxin exposure further reduce the burden on these cellular engines. As the gut ecosystem heals, it begins to produce the very compounds that sustain mitochondrial health, while the mitochondria, in turn, provide the energy the gut needs to regenerate and maintain resilience. When this feedback loop is restored, energy levels rise naturally and sustainably. The body no longer wastes precious fuel fighting inflammation and oxidative stress. Instead, it channels that energy toward repair, immunity, and vitality. The microbiome and mitochondria, working in harmony, form the foundation of lasting health, a biological alliance that turns the gut into the ultimate power plant of the human body. Inflammation is one of the body's most vital protective mechanisms. It's how the immune system responds to injury, infection, or toxins. But when inflammation becomes chronic, it turns from a protective tool into a destructive force that undermines every aspect of health, particularly energy production. Chronic inflammation, often originating from the gut, silently disrupts the body's ability to generate clean energy at the cellular level. The result is persistent fatigue, poor recovery, and accelerated aging. In clinical observation, most cases of chronic tiredness, brain fog, or slow metabolism can be traced back to an inflamed, leaking gut and an overactive immune system that never switches off. When the intestinal barrier is compromised, as it is in leaky gut, unwanted substances like bacteria, food particles, and toxins enter the bloodstream. The immune system reacts as if under siege, releasing inflammatory molecules such as cytokines and interleukins. These chemical messengers spread throughout the body, signaling cells to mount a defense. But this constant activation has a cost. It consumes vast amounts of energy and diverts resources away from normal metabolism and repair. Mitochondria, the energy producers inside each cell, are particularly vulnerable. They are damaged by the oxidative stress created during chronic inflammation. The very molecules that are meant to protect the body, reactive oxygen species and nitric oxide, begin to attack the mitochondria, impairing their ability to produce ATP efficiently. When mitochondrial function declines, so does the body's energy output. The process of turning food and oxygen into usable energy becomes sluggish, and the cells start producing energy less efficiently. This leads to an accumulation of metabolic waste, more oxidative stress, and further inflammation, a vicious cycle that sustains fatigue and accelerates aging. The brain, which consumes a disproportionate amount of energy, suffers the most. Inflammatory cytokines interfere with neurotransmitter function, causing brain fog, low mood, and poor concentration. The body, trapped in this inflamed state, prioritizes survival over vitality. This is why people with chronic inflammation often feel drained, both mentally and physically. Repairing the gut is one of the most powerful ways to reduce this inflammatory burden. When the gut lining is restored, the immune system no longer has to fight constant battles against leaked antigens and toxins. The intestinal barrier acts as it should, selectively allowing nutrients in while keeping harmful substances out. This simple repair process immediately reduces the production of inflammatory cytokines and allows the immune system to rest. Rebalancing the microbiome further amplifies this effect. Beneficial bacteria help regulate immune activity, producing anti-inflammatory compounds like biturates, which dampen excessive immune responses and promote the regeneration of the gut lining. In practical terms, gut repair involves three core strategies: removing inflammatory triggers, restoring microbial balance, and replenishing nutrients that support repair. The first step is to eliminate foods and toxins that perpetuate inflammation. Refined sugars, processed oils, gluten, alcohol, and artificial additives are some of the main culprits. These substances feed harmful bacteria and create oxidative stress in the intestinal lining. Replacing them with anti-inflammatory, nutrient-dense foods provides the body with the raw materials it needs to heal. Omega-3 fatty acids from wild-caught fish, flaxseed, and walnuts are particularly valuable because they directly counteract the inflammatory pathways driven by omega-6 fats common in processed foods. They reduce the production of prostaglandins and leukotrienes, compounds that amplify inflammation, and help restore cellular membrane integrity, including within mitochondria. Antioxidants also play a central role in breaking the inflammation cycle. Vitamin C and E, selenium, and glutathione act as molecular shields, neutralizing free radicals before they can damage mitochondrial membranes or DNA. Polyphenols, plant compounds found in foods like berries, green tea, turmeric, and olive oil go a step further. They'd only reduce oxidative stress, but also modulate the gut microbiome, promoting the growth of beneficial species that produce anti-inflammatory metabolites. These same compounds can upregulate the body's own antioxidant defenses through the NRF2 pathway, enhancing cellular resilience. This means the body becomes better equipped to handle minor stressors without triggering an exaggerated inflammatory response. As inflammation subsides, mitochondrial efficiency begins to improve. Cells can once again produce ATP cleanly and reliably, allowing more energy to be directed toward detoxification, tissue repair, and immune regulation. The body transitions from a catabolic breakdown state to an anabolic, a healing one. This shift is often felt as a noticeable increase in energy, better focus, and improved sleep. The difference is not subtle. When inflammation lowers, the body regains its natural rhythm. People often describe it as getting their spark back, which is quite literally true. The mitochondria are producing more electrical potential across their membranes, the biochemical spark of life. Reducing inflammation through gut repair also impacts longevity. Chronic inflammation accelerates aging by shortening telomeres, the protective caps on DNA, and increasing the accumulation of cellular damage. By contrast, a well-functioning gut continuously sends anti-inflammatory signals throughout the body, supporting healthy aging. Beneficial gut microbes help regulate immune tolerance, preventing the kind of autoimmune reactions that contribute to degenerative diseases. They also enhance the recycling of bile acids and the elimination of toxins, reducing the chemical load on the liver and kidneys. When these detox pathways run smoothly, inflammation remains low and the body's repair systems operate efficiently. Stress management is another vital part of the equation. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, has a dual effect. In small bursts, it can suppress inflammation, but when levels remain chronically high, it weakens the gut barrier and promotes dysbiosis. Mindfulness, proper sleep, and parasympathetic activation through slow breathing or time in nature can reverse this process, giving the gut a chance to regenerate. The body heals best in a state of rest, not in survival mode. Supporting this balance allows inflammation to stay under control naturally without reliance on medications that only mask symptoms. Clinical observations consistently show that patients who focus on gut repair experience measurable reductions in inflammatory markers such as C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6 and IL-6. At the same time, they report clearer thinking, steadier energy, and reduced pain, not because of a temporary stimulant effect, but because their cells are finally producing energy efficiently again. It's a shift from energy debt to energy surplus. The body is no longer wasting power on internal firefighting. It can now invest that energy into regeneration and vitality. This is the essence of energy medicine in Dr. Myhill's practice, not pushing the body harder, but removing what's holding it back. When inflammation from the gut is quelled, the mitochondria recover, the immune system stabilizes, and the entire body operates in harmony. The repair is not superficial, it's foundational. It's the difference between constantly managing symptoms and restoring true health. The gut, once leaky and inflamed, becomes a source of nourishment and balance. From that point forward, energy becomes sustainable, inflammation subsides, and the body reclaims the resilience and longevity it was designed for. A person can eat the cleanest, most nutrient-dense diet in the world, but if their gut is damaged, those nutrients simply won't reach the cells where they're needed. The gut is not just a digestive tube. It's an intelligent, highly selective gateway that decides what gets absorbed into the bloodstream. When the intestinal lining is inflamed or leaky, this precise system breaks down. Nutrients are either poorly absorbed or lost entirely, while harmful particles gain access to the circulation. The result is a paradox. Someone can appear to be eating well, yet still suffer from low energy, poor concentration, and physical fatigue because the nutrients required for energy production and repair never make it past the gut wall. In clinical terms, this problem often manifests as multiple subtle deficiencies rather than one glaring imbalance. Magnesium, zinc, iron, and the B vitamins are among the first to fall short. These nutrients are absolutely essential for mitochondrial energy production, the biochemical process known as oxidative phosphorylation. Magnesium, for instance, is required in over 300 enzymatic reactions and acts as a stabilizer for ATP, the molecule that carries cellular energy. Without enough magnesium, mitochondria can't efficiently convert food into energy, leading to muscle weakness, fatigue, and even heart rhythm irregularities. B vitamins, particularly B1, B2, B3, B5, and B12 function as coenzymes in mitochondrial pathways that metabolize carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. A shortage in any of these vitamins creates a bottleneck in energy generation, producing the familiar symptoms of exhaustion and mental fog. Leaky gut contributes to these deficiencies in several ways. First, chronic inflammation of the intestinal lining damages the microvilli. Tiny, finger-like projections that dramatically increase the surface area for nutrient absorption. When these microvilli flatten or erode, absorption efficiency plummets. Second, an imbalanced microbiome disrupts the production of digestive enzymes and stomach acid, both necessary for breaking down food into absorbable forms. For example, low stomach acid impairs the release of minerals from food, especially iron, calcium, and magnesium. Similarly, pancreatic enzyme insufficiency limits the breakdown of fats and proteins, meaning that fat-soluble vitamins A, D, E, and K and amino acids are lost in the stool instead of being absorbed. The net effect is malnutrition at the cellular level, even when calorie intake is sufficient. Another important yet often overlooked factor is the role of gut bacteria in synthesizing and recycling certain nutrients. Beneficial microbes in the colon produce several B vitamins, vitamin K2, and short-chain fatty acids that feed colon cells and reduce inflammation. When dysbiosis occurs, meaning harmful bacteria, yeast, or parasites take over, this internal nutrient factory shuts down. Instead of producing vitamins and antioxidants, the gut begins generating toxins such as ammonia phenols and hydrogen sulfide, which further irritate the intestinal wall and consume nutrients in the process of detoxification. It becomes a vicious cycle. The gut leaks, nutrients are lost, mitochondria slow down, and the body struggles to repair the very tissues that need healing. Repairing the gut reverses this downward spiral. When the intestinal lining is given the right support, it regenerates quickly. Epithelial cells renew roughly every 3 to 5 days. Key to this process are amino acids like glutamine, glycine, and proline, which serve as the raw materials for rebuilding the gut wall. Bone broth, collagen, and targeted supplements provide these nutrients in highly absorbable forms. As the lining repairs, microvilli regain their structure and absorption efficiency improves dramatically. At the same time, restoring the microbiome with probiotics and prebiotics establishes the natural production of vitamins and short-chain fatty acids while reducing inflammatory toxins that interfere with digestion. As digestive function normalizes, the pancreas and gallbladder begin producing optimal levels of enzymes and bile, breaking food down into smaller molecules that the gut can easily absorb. Protein digestion improves, leading to a more consistent supply of amino acids for neurotransmitter and muscle synthesis. Fat digestion becomes more complete, allowing for proper absorption of fat-soluble vitamins that are essential for hormone balance and skin health. Improved bile flow also supports detoxification, as bile is one of the body's primary routes for removing fat, soluble waste, and toxins. This restoration of nutrient absorption has profound systemic effects. Mitochondria finally receive the full spectrum of cofactors needed for energy production. The Krebs cycle, the core metabolic pathway inside mitochondria, begins to function efficiently again, producing ATP with minimal oxidative waste. the body shifts from survival mode back to performance mode. Energy becomes steady rather than erratic, and post-meal crashes disappear because blood sugar regulation stabilizes. Magnesium and B vitamins, for example, are essential in glucose metabolism, helping cells efficiently use sugar for energy rather than letting it accumulate in the bloodstream. This stabilizes insulin response and reduces cravings, an effect that many people interpret as better willpower, when it's really just improved biochemistry. Beyond energy, other visible improvements emerge as nutrient azure returns to normal. The skin clears as zinc and vitamin A are absorbed properly, reducing inflammation in sebaceous glands and supporting collagen repair. Hair and nails grow stronger due to better protein and mineral utilization. Mental clarity improves as B vitamins and amino acids fuel neurotransmitter synthesis. Even mood stabilizes because the gut and brain share many of the same signaling molecules, including serotonin and GABA, both of which depend on nutrients that are absorbed in the small intestine. People often notice that their anxiety reduces and sleep quality improves simply because their gut is once again delivering what the nervous system requires. Polyphenols and antioxidants from plant foods further enhance this repair process. Compounds found in green tea, turmeric, olive oil, and berries help reduce oxidative stress in the gut lining, protecting delicate epithelial cells from damage. These same compounds also improve mitochondrial efficiency by acting as mild stressors, triggering the body's internal antioxidant systems to strengthen. This concept, known as hormesis, means that small amounts of natural plant stress compounds can actually make human cells more resilient. In practice, this translates to improved endurance, sharper cognition, and slower aging. It's worth emphasizing that gut healing is not a quick fix, it's a restoration of biological order. As the barrier strengthens and microbial balance is restored, digestion becomes smoother, nutrient delivery becomes predictable, and the entire body begins to run more efficiently. This is the essence of metabolic optimization, not manipulating calories or macronutrients, but ensuring that every cell receives exactly what it needs to function. Once that happens, the mitochondria can operate at full capacity, producing ATP efficiently and cleanly. The benefits are visible, measurable, and felt. Energy returns first, followed by clearer thinking and improved resilience to stress. Over time, the signs of nutrient deficiency, brittle nails, dry skin, restless sleep, or sugar cravings begin to fade. Blood tests often show improved iron, magnesium, and vitamin D levels even without increasing supplementation because absorption has normalized. This is why healing the gut is not just about fixing digestion, it's about upgrading every metabolic process in the body. When the gut lining is intact and functioning, the nutrients from food are transformed into cellular energy, hormonal balance, and mental clarity. The result is a state of steady vitality that no supplement or stimulant can replicate. True metabolic efficiency built from the inside out. Healing the gut is not about adding more pills or powders to an already complex regimen. It's about simplifying and restoring the natural balance the body was designed to maintain. The gut is remarkably self-healing when given the right conditions. Every cell lining the intestinal wall regenerates every few days, meaning that with the right inputs, the gut can literally rebuild itself in a matter of weeks. In clinical practice, this process starts by removing what harms, replenishing what's missing, and providing the nutrients and lifestyle support needed for repair. The objective is to stop the ongoing damage, restore microbial balance, and give the mitochondria the clean, anti-inflammatory environment they require to function efficiently. The first and most critical step is removing the foods that irritate and inflame the gut lining. For most people, these are gluten-containing grains, processed seed oils, refined sugars, and ultra-processed foods laden with additives, preservatives, and artificial sweeteners. Gluten is particularly problematic because it increases the production of zonulin, a protein that loosens the tight junctions between intestinal cells, directly contributing to leaky gut. Refined oils such as soybean, sunflower, and canola contain high levels of omega-6 fatty acids, which drive the production of inflammatory prostaglandins and disrupt the delicate omega-3 to omega-6 balance. Sugar feeds harmful bacteria and yeast, creating dysbiosis and leading to fermentation, gas, and inflammation. When these inflammatory foods are removed, the gut finally has the opportunity to rest and recover. Once irritants are out, the next focus is on reintroducing foods and nutrients that actively repair the gut lining. Bone broth is one of the most foundational options. It provides collagen, gelatin, and amino acids like glycine and proline that directly rebuild the mucosal layer and strengthen the intestinal wall. L-glutamine is another key nutrient, serving as the primary fuel for enterocytes, the cells that line the small intestine. Supplementing with L-glutamine helps accelerate repair and reduce permeability. Zinc carnosine supports this process by stabilizing the gut lining, reducing inflammation, and promoting tissue regeneration. Together, these nutrients provide the structural components needed to seal and fortify the gut barrier. Anti-inflammatory fats also play an essential role. Omega-3 fatty acids from wild-caught fish, flaxseed, or algae oil counterbalance the excess omega-6 in the modern diet. They integrate into cell membranes, improving flexibility and reducing inflammatory signaling. Coconut oil and ghee provide medium-chain triglycerides MCTs, which are easily digested and used directly by the liver and mitochondria for clean energy production. Unlike glucose, MCTs produce minimal oxidative stress, allowing the gut mitochondria to function without inflammatory byproducts. Rebuilding the microbiome comes next. This involves creating an internal environment where beneficial bacteria can flourish. Fiber-rich vegetables and resistant starches, such as asparagus, leeks, artichokes, green bananas, and cooked and cooled potatoes provide prebiotics, the food that good bacteria thrive on. Fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, and yogurt introduce living cultures that help recolonize the gut. These beneficial microbes produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, which nourish colon cells, reduce inflammation, and strengthen the gut lining. Diversity is key here. The more varied the plant foods consumed, the more diverse the microbial population becomes, leading to greater resilience and stability within the gut ecosystem. During this rebuilding phase, digestion can be further supported with digestive enzymes, hydrochloric acid supplements, if low stomach acid is suspected, and bitters to stimulate bile flow. These ensure that proteins, fats, and carbohydrates are broken down efficiently, reducing the risk of undigested food particles irritating the gut. Herbal supports such as slippery elm, marshmallow root, and aloe vera can soothe the mucosal layer and reduce irritation while repair takes place. Lifestyle factors are equally crucial because the gut does not operate in isolation. Stress, poor sleep, and overexertion can all undo dietary progress. The gut is in constant communication with the brain via the vagus nerve, meaning emotional stress translates into physical dysfunction. Chronic stress suppresses digestive enzyme secretion, reduces blood flow to the intestines, and increases permeability. Incorporating regular stress management practices, such as slow breathing, meditation, prayer, or time in nature, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which governs rest and digest functions. This shift allows the gut to focus on regeneration rather than defense. Adequate sleep is another non-negotiable. The body performs its most intensive repair work during deep sleep, including the renewal of gut epithelial cells and the restoration of mitochondrial function. Insufficient or poor quality sleep disrupts hormone balance, elevates cortisol, and weakens the gut barrier. Aiming for consistent sleep routines, dark bedrooms, and minimal evening screen exposure supports both gut integrity and energy metabolism. Intermittent fasting or time-restricted eating can further enhance healing. By extending the time between meals, the gut has periods of rest to focus on repair rather than continuous digestion. Fasting also triggers autophagy, the body's natural cleanup process, allowing damaged cells and organelles, including mitochondria, to be recycled and replaced. In Dr. Myhill's framework, moderate fasting periods of 12 to 16 hours are often sufficient to stimulate repair without inducing excessive stress. During these fasting windows, hydration remains vital, along with mineral-rich fluids such as bone broth or herbal teas to support detoxification and electrolyte balance. Detox support rounds out the protocol. A healthy gut acts as a major route of toxin elimination via bile and stool, but when the gut is compromised, toxins recirculate. Supporting the liver with sulfur-containing foods such as garlic, onions, and cruciferous vegetables enhances detox pathways. Adequate fiber ensures toxins bind in the gut and are excreted efficiently, reducing systemic inflammation. Regular movement, gentle walks, stretching, or yoga stimulates lymphatic flow and circulation, aiding detoxification and nutrient delivery to tissues. Healing the gut is not about quick fixes, but about creating conditions where the body's natural intelligence can function without interference. The human body has evolved remarkable mechanisms to repair itself, but modern diets and lifestyles constantly interrupt those processes, removing inflammatory triggers and replenishing healing nutrients resets this system, allowing the gut lining to rebuild, the microbiome to flourish, and the mitochondria to resume optimal energy production. Patients who follow this natural gut healing blueprint often report a steady return of energy, mental clarity, and emotional stability. Skin tone improves, bloating disappears, and sleep becomes restorative. These are not cosmetic benefits, but reflections of deeper metabolic repair. The gut is the gateway to all cellular health. When it functions properly, every organ benefits. Healing it is less about adding complexity and more about removing obstacles and providing what the body inherently knows how to use: real food, rest, and balance. In this simplicity lies the essence of natural medicine, working with biology rather than against it, and allowing the body to do what it does best: heal itself. When patients finally repair their gut, the transformation that follows is not subtle, it's systemic. The body moves from survival mode into a state of restoration and vitality. What often begins as an effort to fix bloating, fatigue, or brain fog unfolds into something much deeper: a total metabolic and energetic reset. This is because the gut is not merely an organ of digestion. It is the central hub of communication for the entire body. When its lining is sealed, its microbiome balanced, and its inflammation resolved, every system, from the brain to the skin, from hormones to mitochondria, begins to function in harmony again. For years, many people chase isolated solutions to fatigue, poor immunity, or weight gain without realizing that all these symptoms share a single upstream cause: an inflamed, leaky, and energy-deprived gut. Once that root is addressed, everything changes. Mitochondria, which were previously suffocating under the burden of toxins and inflammatory molecules, can finally perform their function, converting nutrients into pure, efficient energy. The result is that energy feels clean and stable, not wired or jittery. People find that they wake up refreshed, think clearly, and move through the day with a sense of calm focus. Hormones, too, begin to rebalance naturally once the gut is healed. The gut microbiome helps regulate estrogen metabolism through what scientists call the strobolome, a collection of bacteria that determine how estrogen is processed and excreted. When the microbiome is balanced, estrogen levels normalize, reducing symptoms such as PMS, water retention, and mood swings. Cortisol, the stress hormone, also stabilizes because a healthy gut communicates efficiently with the brain through the vagus nerve, reducing the physiological stress response. Thyroid hormones, which rely on proper nutrient absorption and detoxification, begin to activate more effectively. The entire endocrine system finds its equilibrium when the gut no longer sends distress signals of inflammation. The immune system experiences a similar recalibration. About 70% of immune cells reside within the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, and when the intestinal lining is compromised, the immune system becomes overactive, constantly responding to incoming toxins and microbial fragments. Healing the gut teaches the immune system tolerance again, to recognize self from non-self and to respond appropriately, not excessively. Autoimmune reactions quiet down, allergies lessen, and susceptibility to infections decreases. People who once caught every cold find themselves resilient through seasonal changes. The body's defensive machinery no longer wastes its energy on unnecessary battles, but conserves it for repair and regeneration. Brain function, perhaps one of the most underestimated beneficiaries of gut healing, undergoes profound improvement. The gut and brain are in constant biochemical conversation through the gut-brain axis. When the gut is inflamed, it releases inflammatory cytokines that cross the blood-brain barrier, leading to fatigue, depression, and cognitive fog. Conversely, when the gut is calm, the brain receives a steady stream of neurotransmitter precursors like serotonin and dopamine, over 90% of which are produced in the gut. As the microbiome stabilizes, mood lifts, focus sharpens, and emotional stability returns. Patients often describe it as feeling like themselves again. Weight balance follows naturally when the gut and mitochondria are in sync. Chronic inflammation, insulin resistance, and cravings are not issues of willpower, but symptoms of metabolic confusion driven by an unhealthy gut. Once the intestinal barrier is sealed and the microbiome rebalanced, blood sugar levels stabilize, leptin signaling normalizes, and the body regains its ability to burn fat efficiently. Appetite becomes intuitive rather than compulsive. People find themselves eating less not because they're restricting, but because their cells are finally satisfied. This metabolic calmness is one of the clearest indicators that the mitochondria are running smoothly again. Skin health also reflects internal restoration. Eczema, acne, Rosacea and premature aging all trace back to inflammation and impaired detoxification. As the gut heals, toxins exit through the proper channels, reducing the inflammatory burden on the skin. Collagen production increases, elasticity improves, and complexion brightens. What appears on the outside is simply a mirror of what's happening internally. Reduced inflammation, improved circulation, and enhanced nutrient delivery. Sleep deepens as well because the body is no longer on constant alert. Melatonin production, which begins in the gut, returns to normal levels, supporting natural circadian rhythms. With restorative sleep, mitochondria regenerate efficiently, immune cells repair, and hormones synchronize. People wake not groggy, but energized, feeling a sense of coherence that many haven't experienced in years. Even longevity markers improve when gut and mitochondrial health are restored. Reduced systemic inflammation lowers oxidative stress, protecting DNA and cellular membranes from damage. Telomere shortening, a hallmark of aging, slows down. Mitochondria generate cleaner energy, meaning fewer free radicals and less cellular wear and tear. What emerges is not just more life in one's years, but potentially more years in one's life. The journey from gut dysfunction to full body vitality requires commitment, but it does not require complexity. The process follows the natural laws of biology. Remove the harmful, restore the essential, and allow time for the body's repair systems to do their work. This is the opposite of the modern quick fix mentality. Drugs and stimulants can mask symptoms temporarily, but they do not heal. They often deepen the underlying dysfunction by suppressing feedback mechanisms. True healing, as Dr. Myhill emphasizes, means working with the body, respecting its design, supporting its needs, and trusting its capacity to restore balance when given the proper conditions. The beauty of this approach is that it returns control to the individual. By healing the gut, one is not dependent on lifelong medication or external interventions. The gut is a living ecosystem that responds directly to how we eat, sleep, think, and move. Every choice either feeds balance or feeds dysfunction. The encouraging truth is that even years of damage can be reversed because the intestinal lining renews rapidly and the microbiome can change in a matter of days. Every meal, every breath, every night of good sleep becomes an act of healing. Those who experience this transformation often describe it as reclaiming not only their health, but their sense of self. They feel lighter, clearer, and more aligned with their natural rhythms. It's not about perfection, it's about restoration. When the gut and mitochondria are synchronized, energy flows freely, the mind is sharp, and the spirit feels grounded. This is the natural state of health that many have forgotten is possible. By healing the gut and restoring the microbiome, one unlocks the body's innate capacity for vitality. Energy becomes abundant, mood becomes stable, and life feels vibrant again. This transformation is not a miracle. It is biology functioning as intended. When inflammation subsides and mitochondria thrive, the body regains its full intelligence. The path to lasting energy and well-being does not lie in more medication or more control, but in reconnection with the gut, with nature, and with the body's extraordinary ability to heal itself naturally.